If the Mandelion is the shroud, and if it had been in the possession of the Templars, there is the interesting coincidence that Geoffrey de Charnay was the uncle of the man who 50 years later had the Holy Shroud of Turin. It's therefore possible to make the case that the Shroud of Turin is the Mandelion.
Whether or not the Templars once held the Shroud of Turin remains unknown. The mysterious warrior monks zealously guarded their secrets, arousing suspicion and ultimately sealing their doom. As the 13th century ended, the Knights Templar stood at the peak of their wealth and power. Their monastic empire stretched far beyond the Holy Land. Some 900 Templar centers were scattered across the medieval world. They had a highly trained, battle-hardened army and a network of impregnable fortresses from England to Egypt. The warrior monks were rumored to be unimaginably rich. They may have owned as many as 15,000 properties across Europe. Yet, as a religious order, they paid no taxes. The Templars seemed to have more money than most princes. Indeed, most princes owed them money. The Knights' wealth made them the most prominent bankers of their age. To handle international transactions, they invented a medieval version of the traveler's check. They bankrolled the wars and the lavish lifestyles of Europe's kings and princes. Time and power seemed to have eroded the order's strict discipline. To drink like a Templar was becoming a common expression. But the Templars' power was nothing to joke about. By papal decree, they answered to no one save the Pope, and Rome's authority over them was rarely enforced. No king in Christendom could tell the Templars what to do. But even as the Templars seemed beyond the reach of any earthly authority, events were conspiring to bring about their destruction. For decades, the Templars and other Crusaders had been fighting a losing battle to keep the Holy Land. Led by their brilliant general, Saladin, the Crusaders' Saracen enemies pushed them out of Jerusalem and back towards the sea. In the year 1291, the last Crusader fortress in the Holy Land fell to an overpowering Saracen force. The Templars in the garrison refused to surrender and fought to their deaths. With the Bible lands now firmly back in Saracen control, Templar armies retreated to Europe, watched nervously by Europe's kings.
After the Templars lost the Holy Land, you could, in the simplest terms, say they really didn't have anything to do. They were immensely powerful, immensely wealthy, haughty, arrogant men. It's perfectly understandable they might have wanted to create a state of their own.
The center of Templar power was in France, heartland of medieval civilization. Were the Templars planning to establish their own nation by seizing part of France? To this day, no one knows. Perhaps it is not surprising that as the 14th century dawned, the Templars were confronted by a new and cunning enemy. Philip IV, King of France.
King Philip IV of France is an enigma. To this day, we really don't know very much about him. He was described by someone at the time as being like an owl, sitting at meetings and staring and never saying anything.
He has been accused of being a cold, calculating, Machiavellian kind of ruler on the one hand, and a pious, devout ruler on the other hand. He's been accused of not knowing what his government was doing. He was accused of masterminding everything that his government was doing. He is probably as enigmatic a ruler as you can find in all of medieval Europe.
Philip was worried by the unchecked power of the Templars. He also desperately needed money to finance his wars and political schemes. The French monarch resolved to crush the Templars and to seize their staggering riches for himself. Yet even the King of France could not openly attack one of the Catholic Church's most prominent religious orders. At least not without the Pope's consent. Before he moved against the Templars, Philip made sure he had papal cooperation. He ordered his officials to kidnap the Pope, who soon died. The next Pope also died, mysteriously, allowing Philip to place his own candidate, Clement V, on the papal throne. Old and ailing, Clement would not stand in Philip's way. With lethal precision, the king struck. Friday, April 13th, 1307. Just before dawn, Philip's constables raided every Templar center in France. In one ruthless, perfectly coordinated move, every French Templar was arrested and all Templar property confiscated by the crown.
Nothing like this had ever been done anywhere in medieval Europe. It was done, as one great historian has said, in a manner as efficient as a modern dictatorial state could do it, and probably more efficient. The Templars didn't have a chance.
The shock of the Templar arrests has been immortalized in popular superstition. Since 1307, Friday the 13th, the day of their arrest, has been deemed an unlucky day. With the French Templars in his power, Philip wasted no time carrying out his vow to destroy the order. He charged them with no fewer than 127 blasphemous crimes and ordered his henchmen to make sure that they confessed.
A large number of the Templars were tortured, and tortured quite brutally. One man describes being kept tied up in a pit for many months. Others were tortured on the rack. Others were tortured by having weights attached to their testicles. Others were attached to a rope, and this was thrown over a beam, and they were suddenly jerked over this beam.
In Philip's torture chambers, most French Templars admitted to denying the divinity of Christ, to spitting and urinating on the crucifix, and to kissing new recruits on the mouth, navel, and buttocks. Some confessed homosexual acts. Were any of the acts